Anthem TV, a free streaming digital community. With a click of a mouse or a tap on your phone, you have instant access to free TV shows, movies on demand, music, pay-per-view events, and so much more. Download Anthem TV on your smartphone, smart TV, or any streaming device and enjoy instant access. Subscribe and download Anthem TV today.
And welcome to the Texas Weather Connection this evening on Tuesday, June 18th. And we are talking tropical rains here into South Texas. I'm meteorologist Robert Luna.
Meteorologist Brian Solo. We got a busy stuff for tonight. Sergio, what do you think?
Well, it's exciting stuff to finally talk about the rain on the radar. So it's good, always good to see that across the state. I'm meteorologist Sergio Lozano.
Yeah, so we are talking about a tropical system, the first potential tropical cyclone. And guys, this is a new term that's just been recent over the last couple of years. Potential tropical cyclone. So it's not officially a tropical depression, a tropical storm. It's a potential tropical cyclone. But what's causing this to not be considered a tropical storm? Because right now it has 40-mile-per-hour winds. So why aren't we calling it a tropical storm in this case?
And so you're looking at not a, low pressure system that's intact, storms that are removed from the center. And it is a big system, isn't it, Sergio?
Yeah. So what happened was that the aircraft reconnaissance flew out there today, and they were trying to find a center of circulation, and they just found it very broad. So when it's like that and they can't define it, that's why they just are unable to label it. So, but the Hurricane Center wanted to put out this, data out, that way people can be prepared, and they put a track on it because it's still very likely that this thing will eventually develop a closed low and be named. But realistically, this thing is going to have the same impacts whether it's named or not. Yeah. And like you said, Robert, this thing's a very sprawling system. It's probably one of the biggest tropical entities that I've seen in a long time as far as wind radii, and then of course the precipitation radii as well.
Yeah, you're talking some of these rains extend from Louisiana down into way down into almost central Mexico.
Yeah.
And you would think, guys, that this system, based on the fact that we're talking about rain all the way up here, tropical storm force winds off the Corpus Christi coast, up towards, Port O'Connor and San Luis Pass, you would think that the system is probably going to be hitting closer towards Brownsville, South Padre, or maybe just south of Corpus. But it, like you said, it's such a very large wind field that this system's going to be going into Mexico, well south of the border. So we do have a very large.
And that's probably one of the reasons why it's unable to develop a closed low. It's such a, imagine an ice skater. I always tell people, like, when their hands are spread out, you're moving slowly. When they close their hands, they get tight, they spin faster. So as its hands are spread out, it's just unable to develop that core, which is actually pretty good news for us, because that gives us an opportunity to latch onto some of this rain where otherwise we normally wouldn't be talking about it.
Right. Yeah. The stronger we see one of these tropical systems, it gets more compact in the center. So all those feeder bands that we see further away right now with this looser type of low pressure, in a stronger system, we'd see it a lot closer to the center.
Right. And what's interesting, and Brian and I were showing some pictures as we were talking during lunch. There were some big waves coming into the Corpus Christi beaches, North Padre Island, Port Aransas. The waves were all the way to the dunes already, and some of the roads were impassable along the beach areas. And that's just because this storm system is so massive with lots of wind. So very dangerous riptides likely happening, and a very dangerous situation. Don't get out there in that water. Very dangerous.
No, this is not the time to do that. I mean, it's, we do have a minor storm surge. This is not going to be anything catastrophic in terms of 7 to 10 feet like we've seen in some of the stronger tropical storms or even hurricanes. But still, 2 to 4 feet, 1 to 3 feet above normal is like you were talking about. It's all washed up today. I think I was looking at the video that we were talking about earlier, that's where we go to the beach. That's the same spot that we go to the beach at times. So.
It was underwater today, huh?
Yeah, it's underwater. We drive onto the sand, and there's nowhere to drive on. You're driving right into the ocean at that point. So it's definitely not a time to go out and venture out. It's, again, we do have tropical storm warnings up all the way to San Luis Pass. Even though it's not a tropical storm, we still have at the moment 40-mile-per-hour winds, which is tropical storm classification. Again, we just don't have that fully closed circulation for the low pressure, so we can't give it that title of tropical storm at this point.
Yeah, it's more of a technicality right now at this point. You know, it's you're still going to experience the same thing as if it was a named storm. High winds over 40 miles an hour. You're like you said, coastal flooding, freshwater inland flooding is going to be the main issue. So yeah, it's all trivial at this point.
And here's something that heading to the rainfall, and why are we going to get these sorts of rain? That we're talking near record precipitable water, and let's explain that to everybody right now. What is PW? And the record is right around 3 inches for Corpus Christi, and we're going to be near that. So, anybody want to attack precipitable water and what that means in the atmosphere?
I love your technical discussions.
So it's a tool that we use in meteorology that basically gives us an idea of how much moisture is available to wring out at any given time. So, and it's looking at all levels of the atmosphere. So basically a 3-inch, like what we're talking about, that's historic. I mean, this is deep tropical moisture from the Caribbean, I believe. So, and so it's basically like a big sponge. It's soaking wet, and this system's going to wring out all that moisture. And as it does so, that's why we get those prolific rainfall rates, because it's what we call a warm core system.
Yeah,
it's humid and tropical from the surface to about 20,000 feet, I believe. So and so these tend to not have lightning as much. Hail's never an issue with these systems, so you don't have to worry about that. But we will talk about the possibility of what we call tropical funnels. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's just a way to measure moisture in our air.
So with that much moisture in place, we will get in some areas 3 to 4 inch rainfall amounts in 1 hour. We're talking in 1 hour, things set up perfectly, and it's going to come down very heavily. And these are the areas we got to watch. And that's the reason we do have flash flood watches. And that's the reason we're expecting some places 8 to 10 inches around Corpus Christi and 4 to 6 inches just south of San Antonio. And a little closer to us, we'll get to that in just a bit.
Yeah, and talking about those PW values, guys. I mean, we had those storms that came in, what was it, about a week ago? Mm-hmm. We had one that was overnight, and then one early in the morning. Mm-hmm. Our side of town, Sergio, we had what, like, I think you had 4 inches, a little over 4 inches.
At 4 inches, yeah.
We had, I think that night, PW values were around 1.5. So we're talking about double that at this point in some areas in terms of what we're looking at. Again, historic possibilities here. And this system's going to be a slow mover. Let's go and let's point that out. It's going to be a slow mover, but we're going to see plenty of moisture. All this coming again from deep from the Caribbean, from the Gulf.
And you know what's interesting about air masses like this? Tropical air masses is always one of my favorites because you get those big fat raindrops. They're warm. They normally aren't cold when they hit you, and it's just they might not last too long. But man, when you're under it, I mean, you have to pull over. You can't drive in this stuff. It's coming down so hard. Visibility drops, and then because it is tropical in nature, it's going to be squally. So there's going to be winds, probably gusting over 30, maybe 35 miles an hour, even here in town. And
even here in town. You're exactly right.
Those can bring down some of the weaker limbs and weaker, even weaker trees that are just not, really sustain themselves very well. So,
and this, 30, 35 mile per hour winds, this is not going to be in terms of severe weather. We're not going to have the severe technicality to it, but again, strong enough winds that it could do some damage. It could relocate some of your lawn furniture. So definitely want to secure that. We probably won't see the tropical storm force winds up here unless we have a stronger cell, or even if we get the possibility of some of these spin ups. And we'll talk about our tornado risk here in just a second. But let's go ahead and let's take a look. These are the flood watches that are in effect. All of Deep South Texas, guys. I mean, they're pretty much under the gun. We saw what those rainfall possibilities were looking, anywhere from 4 to 9 inches. We could see some areas 10 to 15 inches. And again, where some of those heavier bands, the feeder bands that are moving in onshore, some of them could start training. That's where we're going to definitely see some really, really high amounts of rain.
So if we look at this flash flood watch, let's look at the timing. Along the coast, the rain will be starting right around midnight, and some of them already moving into the Houston area.
Mhm.
And as we move inland, San Antonio for us, I think our threat will come from midday tomorrow,
Yeah.
noontime, till about midnight tomorrow night. So that'll be our threat time.
Yeah.
So if you're heading down to the coast, and here's rainfall, if going I-10 eastward, not as heavy as what was predicted,
Right.
but still some very heavy rainfall right along the coast.
Yeah, it's basically along and south of the I-10 US 90 corridor is what it's looking like to now that we're honing in with these high resolution models. That's what it looks like. That's going to be the highest threat for some of these higher rainfall totals. Not to say that if you live north of there that you're not going to get under, like you said, one of these feeder bands that's producing training. You can easily get a quick couple inches of rain in a short amount of time. And the big issue for metropolitan areas such as San Antonio, Houston, and even anywhere is just the urban ice flooding. So you get these small creeks and streams, the pounding on the road, more concrete out there, so it's not allowing for the rain to soak in. So that all can lead to problems, especially during the evening commute. It looks like here in town.
Right. And, I do want to point out something, guys, because like the Houston area, again, it shows 1.5 to 2 inches there in Harris County, over in Beaumont, possibly up to an inch. Right. But looking at radar, they've already started in some of those areas out there. They already started seeing rain this evening. And the models have had trouble latching on to what its resolution is going to be. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that this system has not obtained that tropical storm status. It hasn't closed off yet. So we could see some potential that some of these rainfall totals around Houston, around Beaumont could be a little bit higher. It could be a little bit less. It's going to be a matter of what it looks like in the morning, how things are going with the system, and how those feeder bands are setting up throughout the afternoon. So something to keep an eye on. Again, that's why we did see flood watches issued for those counties in southeastern part of Texas as well. Again, even though Houston, maybe 1 to 2 inches, possibly 2.5 inches. Beaumont, same thing, only up to an inch. At the same time, these are areas that have had a ton of rain over the last month and a half. So these grounds over here are already saturated. It's not going to take much for it to start flooding out there.
To get some flooding, exactly.
Yeah. And the only good thing is that down in the valley, they are a little bit in drought, so they'll be able to handle a little bit. But it's so low-lying area around that, the Rio Grande, it's a valley. So it doesn't take much to cause problems there. So, but it is beneficial. All these areas need it. So.
Oh yeah. And same thing with our area here in
Absolutely.
the hill country. Again, these totals that these potential totals we were looking at just 24 hours ago were much different. They were much higher. And so now they've kind of tapered down a little bit. That's not to say that you are going to completely miss out on rain, but it may not be as much as we were hoping for. But you know what? At this point, we will take what we can get. I don't think, I know in the past few weeks we said not everybody's going to get rain. I think at some point everybody is going to see something from at least the hill country south.
You're exactly right, and I think 2 to 3 inches is a good thing. We were talking just before the show amongst us, and again, it's showing I think 1 to 4 inches anywhere around Bexar County. Further north of Bexar County, northern Bexar County this time, may see a little less. If you go southern Bexar County, they may be up to maybe 4 inches. Some areas there, we're going to see the 4 inches. Looks like the setup's going to be that way. Things could oscillate just a little bit, but I think anywhere from 1 to 4 inches around Bexar County, widespread rainfall, which is much needed around the area.
Yeah. And again, some of the crazier models were saying that we were looking at anywhere from 4 to 10 inches of rain. So again, we could have used that too, not all at once, obviously, but anything to help the drought conditions, especially, we know the lakes are very, very low, critical levels. And we'll take what we can get at this point. But there have been some models too that are showing that the modeling, the models are showing that some of the feeder bands are just going to kind of set up right over the Bexar County area, just south of us or just north of us. So that's going to be something to pay attention to tomorrow, see how they come off the Gulf of Mexico, and see if we can sit under one of these for, even just a couple hours. We can get a good 2 to 5 inches of rain just from one of those bands.
Yes, and with the tropical setup like this, it's I always, even studying meteorology, our professors used to hate showing accumulated rain or QPF. because it's never going to be like you see where it's just
Yeah.
lines like that, right? So
Yeah.
this is just generally like showing like heavier rain to the south, lighter rain to the north. But I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it could be flooding in Robert's house, and I only got half an inch over here.
Right.
That's just the tropical nature of what we're going to be dealing
Exactly.
with. So
we could see double what Georgetown is seeing up there. They're predicting anywhere maybe right now from half an inch to an inch based off of the graphic, but they could easily top 2-3 inches because again, the moisture is going to be there. The it's going to be in place, and so it's possible that we could see some higher values there.
And if you can get sunshine popping out on the outskirts to work in this tropical air mass and all this high precipitable water values, I mean, it doesn't take much heating at all. I mean, there's the convective temperatures are probably
It'll intensify.
like in the low 80s or something. You know?
Absolutely, it'll intensify individual storms. You're exactly right. I do want to emphasize something tomorrow. If you are traveling to the Houston area, be very safe on I-10, the ponding of water. Again, it'll be very heavy downpours all coming within 15, 20 minutes where 1 or 2 inches could fall in a very short amount of time. Yeah. Traveling down to Corpus Christi again in the morning will be a big issue. And then as we head down 35 towards Laredo, as we go later in the day, that'll be a big issue as well, as the system then tends to move inland in towards Mexico, but it brings in a copious amount of moisture into South Texas. So if you're driving around tomorrow, be very, very careful and please slow down as the downpours come down because visibility will go down to near zero very, very quickly.
Yes. And again, flood watches are up for a good part of our area here. The Hill Country, not at the moment. Obviously, this can change in real time tomorrow. So we could see some areas added, depending again where some of these stronger lines that are feeding in from the Gulf, where they set up tomorrow. We don't know where that's going to happen at this point. It could happen here in San Antonio, it could happen in Austin, it could happen south of us. It could miss our region completely, and it just stays, Corpus Christi south. So the threat, though, is there for us to see that potential. So that's why these flood watches are in effect. And again, like y'all said, guys, we can see anywhere from 1 to 4 inches. That should be a good general amount of what to expect. Like I said, I don't think everybody's going to, I think at this point, everybody's going to be in on this one this time. And again, it may not be flooding at my house, but Robert, Sergio, it might at yours. So we'll
Our backyards are going to be very happy for the rain. The grass is going to be very happy. The plants.
Yes. Now there is, we talked about how, we shouldn't be worrying about any hail with tropical systems. That's really not a concern at all. But with landfalling systems, whether it's a tropical storm or a hurricane, there is the potential for some quick spin-ups.
Right. Yeah. So there's some vorticity and what we call helicity in meteorology, spinning of the air, wind shear with any inland moving tropical system and the speed at which the storms are moving. These tend to be weaker than the storms that we see in springtime, and nevertheless, they can and do cause damage. So you have to be prepared. I think the greatest threat, as shown in this graphic, is basically along and southeast of 35. So that's closer from here to the coastline, and then it drops a little bit as you get west and north of San Antonio.
Yeah. And sometimes these spin-ups happen so quickly that
no warning.
It doesn't have time to get a warning out. No. Sometimes the radar is hard to
even show up on radar. It'll happen between frames.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So something to just be aware of, that it can happen if you hear that roaring sound, the wind or freight train coming your way, and you don't live near a train tracks. Watch out, because it can spin up very quickly and it's gone very quickly, or you can see it and in and out.
And again, luckily these tropical funnels and tropical quick spin ups that we see aren't extreme in terms of severity. Okay. So like what we saw in North Texas, like we saw over in Midland, these large tornadoes, this is not something we'll see with these. These will just be quick, small, maybe EF0, maybe EF1, but it'll be quick. And so again, we'll hope that it doesn't come to that.
It won't happen. Yeah.
But we know that as the system is moving in, we're going to have that daytime heating helping to fuel some of these feeder bands. So we could see some stronger showers in there that could get something going.
Going.
I think a lot would depend on the tomorrow morning on how much sun is able to peer through the clouds before that cloud shield kind of moves in and the rain shield itself moves in. If you can get quite a bit of heating, that leads to a little bit more unstable of an atmosphere. So yeah, you're right, Brian, about that. So have to play it by ear when we wake up in the morning and see how it looks out there.
And we do have a couple of comments, and so I think Sergio, this is from I think your dad, Jesse. He said, "Bring that much needed rainfall." So yes, we are hoping. Heather said, "I was really hoping for the 10 inches of rain," and I agree. I was really hoping for maybe not all 10 inches of rain, at least 5 inches. I think that would have really put us in a good spot in terms of the drought. It wouldn't have completely knocked it out, but it would have gotten us in a much better position.
Exactly.
But she did say on here, maybe this next system will bring more to our area. So guys,
there is something behind this, right? There's something behind it.
Yes. So take a look here. So guys, what are we looking at here on this map?
Go ahead, Sergio.
Yeah. So this is the outlook from the National Hurricane Center that's highlighting some potential tropical development. You can see one off the southeast coast of the U.S. out there. The red dot is our potential tropical cyclone that we're monitoring currently. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit confusing because it's overlaid by another area of interest for the next week. That's our next possible tropical entity developing that happens to be developing in the same general area where our potential tropical cyclone one is right now. In fact, they just upped it to a 30% chance. So it's still low, but it's definitely got the attention of the Hurricane Center to at least flag it and kind of give everybody like, hey, we got our eye, at least one eye on this system, because two eyes are on this potential tropical system one, and then we'll turn our attention to the next one possibly.
Almost at the same location.
Almost at the same location. Almost. And for a good week, because we always talk about, the models and how much we really don't put too much faith into these long range models, right? Anything beyond really 5 days, especially 7 days, looking out past 10 days, we really don't look at those with good faith. But I will say that 10 days ago, the models were showing this potential tropical cyclone that we're dealing with right now forming in the Bay of Campeche. Mm-hmm. And then it showed that there was going to be another system forming right after that. And so far, the models have pretty much hit it on the dot so far. Now, obviously, it's been off in terms of whether it's going to develop fully into a tropical storm or not. But it has shown that there was going to be something brewing, and something is brewing, and something looks like it's going to be brewing this weekend too.
One thing I will say, Brian, is because this potential tropical system hasn't gotten its act together quite yet, there's not as much what we call upwelling. So the warm sea surface temperatures of the Gulf probably won't cool very much. Normally, when you have a system that sits over the Gulf, it pulls that cooler, denser, colder water up to the surface and cools off the surface of the ocean. You're not going to get that. So this next possible system, the 7-day outlook system that we're looking at here, will have quite a bit of heat content to still work with, as long as this system remains disorganized currently that it is, because it's going to be kind of uninterrupted, and then we'll kind of see what the upper level winds are going to look like, but it kind of looks similar, perhaps with a little bit more latitude than our current system. So definitely something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Yeah.
And, that could help us to get to those 10 inches potentially for Heather. I know she's hoping for those 10 inches of rain. So that next system could help us in that sense. We had a comment from John. I know, John, I know you've been so disappointed over the last few months. We look like we're going to get the rain and then it misses us. I know you're frustrated. So his question was, the south side of SA is only miles away from the moderate risk area. Do we think that we could still get some heavy rain? And I'm going to say yes. I mean, it's definitely, everybody's at the potential for seeing heavy rain. Now, how much?
The further south of downtown San Antonio, the further south of Bexar County, a little closer to Corpus, your chances for heavier rain, flash flooding rains, chances go up.
Yeah, definitely.
I will say the only caveat that I have is the GFS model that has been consistently producing pretty big rain amounts has been consistent in saying that it's one of our best global models. It does have convective feedback problems, so it does have a bias to show more rain than normally occurs, but it can't be completely discounted because it's one of our better models. So it'll be interesting that maybe it's latching on to something that the other models aren't seeing offshore. You know what I mean? And if we look at the radar, I don't know if we're going to show that.
Yeah, we're going to bring up the radar in just a second. But Sergio, sorry, we were talking about this in our group text. That there's been in the past similar setups to what we're seeing right now, and we've had some record rainfalls in some areas around southern portions of South Texas. So, I mean, like you said, Sergio, we can't discount what the GFS is showing us. You know, it's been very consistent on this, very heavy rainfall and very high totals in terms of rainfall. So it's definitely something that we're gonna have to keep an eye on. Maybe we could see some 10 inches in some areas around the area, even though, again, the consensus right now is only going to be maybe 1 to 4 inches. It doesn't mean that there couldn't be some areas that could see that. So again, a lot's going to depend on what happens tomorrow morning, honestly, guys. What do you think?
I think the weather service is that's why they have the flash flood watch configured the way. I'm sorry, the flood watch is configured the way it is, because they have to make sure that they cover all their bases, right? They can't completely discount that. Hey, maybe there isn't an isolated 5 to 7 inch amount somewhere in that green area. So, but we're taking a look at the radar here. You can see there's that large plume of tropical moisture that's just sitting offshore. It's coming, boys.
Yeah, I mean, it's headed west. I mean,
headed towards Galveston, headed towards Houston, and then this band will start heading westward towards Victoria, and then heading towards San Antonio as we head towards the morning hours tomorrow. I think more than likely our heavier rain, widespread rains will begin around noon and continuing for the next 12 hours or so, on and off. So,
you know, and one of the things that you know, in the past that we've seen with these tropical systems is usually in the middle of the night is when we start seeing some of these rain bands starting to intensify. So the fact that we already have this brewing out here before 10 o'clock or before 11 o'clock in the evening, you know, once this makes it onto land, we're going to start seeing this again shift further west. And this is, again, a large system and down in the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico that is just bringing in so much into our area.
Big slug of moisture coming around. I know we got a question from Michael Phillips. Hey, guys, thinking what we could get of any sort of flooding in Karnes County. So looking at Karnes County there, as we just north of Corpus Christi near Beeville, about halfway from San Antonio to Corpus Christi there in Karnes County.
Off of 181,
Off of one, you got it. And looking at their rain totals will probably be closer to 5-7 inches likely possible down in that area. So flooding is a good possibility there in Karnes County.
Yeah, again, the closer you are to the coastline, the better chance you have of seeing some higher totals closer to that 10-inch mark. Let's go ahead and let's take a look real quick down towards the Brownsville area. Because, again, the system's going to make landfall south of Brownsville. But this is where we're probably going to see some of the stronger winds associated with these bands. Some heavy rain as well is going to start becoming more of a consistent theme as we head into the morning hours. And we can see, I mean, look at the motion here, guys. I mean, they're moving in pretty quickly, and we got plenty more out here waiting to move on shore.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you can see the speed at which these showers move. They don't last very long, but boy, when they're over you, I mean, it's coming down, like you said,
coming down
4 or 5 inches an hour. You know, they're prolific and efficient rain producers for sure.
Yeah, and if you have a cell that's over you, a shower that's dropping 4 inches of rain per hour, and it only rains for 15 minutes, well, you just got an inch of rain there. So
absolutely.
So it doesn't have to last the entire hour. It's just a short period of time. You can see, and you know, you get one shower comes through, that's 1 inch. You get another shower comes through, maybe in half an inch. And by the end of the day, it's all added up to 7, 8, 9, 10 inches. So definitely a good reason as to why those flood watches are out for a good chunk of South Texas. Let's take a look at San Antonio at the moment. You know, we're not really dealing with anything here in the area. It's going to work its way from the east. We did see some showers earlier, though.
Yeah, there were some showers around.
Late afternoon, so.
Yeah, it was like the first initial push of this tropical air mass coming on board. And so I was able to work with some of the daytime heating, and we got a couple isolated showers. And like I said, lightning's not going to be, not that you can't get storms, but if you're getting lightning and thunder, that means you're under an intense
You're going to be under a very intense cell coming right at you or right near you.
John, before we wrap it up, John mentioned that he's been watching the models too, and he said, just like we said, you know, the GFS has been crazy. So we'll definitely see if that pans out anywhere in our area. And he was mentioning too the one of our high resolution models dropping half a foot southwest of Houston on the last run. So again, they're saying, in the Houston area, maybe 1 to 3 inches, a little bit further south, maybe 3 to 6 inches. So it's not going to take much for the rain to start adding up, and especially on our coastal communities. And Daniel, he said, thanks for the information, guys. Again, thank you all for tuning in. We really appreciate it. I know that our post last night reached a lot of people, and that's what we want. So if you can share the information with others, share our post, our videos, we will be updating tomorrow, guys.
What's very important, exactly. We will be updating. The radar is going to be very important. Keep up with the latest information on storm, because if there's a spin up, it'll come very quickly and be out of here very quickly. Flooding, turn around, don't drown.
Yeah, and we have everything covered from Brownsville, the Valley, Corpus, Houston, and then here in San Antonio in the Hill Country. We'll keep an eye on this. Guys, there is the potential that some of this rain could make it to the San Angelo and Dallas area as well. At the moment, there, if it makes it there, it's not going to be as crazy rain totals at the moment as what our coastal communities are going to see. But if we do see anything worsen towards their areas tomorrow afternoon into Thursday afternoon, again, we'll keep everybody updated. Other than that, I
do want to mention Del Rio. A lot of viewers out in our Del Rio area. Mm-hmm. And for them, their potential for flash flooding, heavy rain, they're in the slight risk area, but their potential will likely come tomorrow night around this time into Thursday morning as that system continues towards
Del Rio, the Hill Country, Laredo. That's where we're going to see it.
The Big Bend area, all that moisture will get thrown out in that area. Doesn't take a lot for the flooding to occur out there. 1 to 2 inches of rain in a very short amount of time, and flooding occurs out in the further west of San Antonio.
Yes. Yeah. And Heather said, thank you guys so much. Again, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for helping spread the word. We're trying to make sure that everybody's prepared. This is definitely, probably the first of maybe several systems that we could see. It's just the beginning of hurricane season, guys.
Just the beginning. And summer beginning here very soon. We're still in spring.
Yes.
That's true. Officially.
Sure. I mean, we just had like 107, 108 degrees, a few weeks ago. Are you sure we're not in summer yet? But other than that, guys, y'all have anything else y'all like to end before we go ahead and call it a night?
No, just stay up with the latest and turn around, don't drown, because those heavy downpours will come quickly.
Yes.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Sergio, anything?
I think we covered it all, guys. I think we just have to keep abreast with the latest development, and we're going to do a lot of nowcasting tomorrow, and that's when we'll have a much better idea of what the atmosphere is going to look like, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So expect to see radar updates first thing in the morning. We'll definitely let you know. At this point, it doesn't matter if the system becomes a tropical storm or not. It's still going to be the same. It's still going to be the same result. So we'll keep everybody up to date. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Anthem Television. We are the Texas Weather Connection. I'm meteorologist Brian Silva.
Meteorologist Sergio Lozano.
And I'm meteorologist Robert Luna.
Y'all have a good night,
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
We come from all walks of life, all races, all genders, all styles. We are more than a rock school, more than the art of dance. We are a destination for art, creativity, performance, and community. We are Anthem. Join us in our mission, enriching the lives of every student through the power of belief.